the real enemy is the regime, not each other. A united house shall stand, divided one shall fall. And he just basically says we all need to get along, but he doesn't actually address the substance of anything. Like for a guy who says he doesn't want to cancel, he's not addressing what he's saying either. So it's a bit of a funny
Yeah,
move.
so
Just
this person who
he is
posted this
facile.
is also this person who posted this is also retarded because he started by saying that Musab, son of Hamas, he knows that he loves Iran. But if he actually did half a minute of research, he would realize that even before he was posting against Pahlavi, he was posting against Iranian people as a whole.
Hmm.
So he doesn't love Iran. He hates Iranian people. So where is he getting that from? That he loves Iran?
Yeah, good. I just thought you could comment further on it, so I'll let you take from here and fill us in about
Yeah.
about.
I think he's just jealous of Iranians because it's pretty unique. Like people find it like, oh my God, look, an Arab who is pro-Israeli, who's anti-Hamas. How interesting! Wow. Okay, but that's not very interesting when you when you like. I think it just loses its interest when you have millions of Iranians from the Middle East being this aggressively anti-Islamic. So it just loses like having an Arab person saying, "Oh, Islam is bad." Sometimes people in the West like, "Wow, so cool. We haven't seen that before." But then if you have millions and millions of people from the Middle East coming out and saying, "I shit on Islam. I shit on every page of the Quran," then that is not a very right. Then your position of being anti-Hamas and anti-Islam is not very interesting anymore because it's just very common. Like that view is coming from the Middle East. So I think he feels threatened by the Iranians' anti-Islamic position, pro-Israeli anti-Islamic position, right? So he's just trying to dismiss them as not important so that he maintains his. He wants to be the special boy. He wants to be like he's basically saying Israelis pick me, forget these Iranians, pick me. Like I'm the proper Middle Eastern.
Him, let's say that's him, and then what I don't know about is what's this separatist movement that he's hitching himself onto? Because I'm sure it has its own separate story.
I mean, I'm not sure where that come from, but if I had to guess, he just realized that Iranians hate separatists. So he was like, "Oh, this is what you hate, so I'm just gonna jump on this." I think that's why he's supporting that. It's noticing how
Mm.
sensitive Iranians are against separatists. But again, it's really so that's why I think Musab is supporting the Kurdish separatists. But again, remember, most Iranian Kurds do not support the separatists. They're very patriotic and they support Iran's border integrity. I just want to use this as a way to remind any Israelis that might be listening to this at some point that supporting Kurdish separatists is not in the interest of Israel because separatism will basically cause more internal fighting in four different countries, and the chaos in the region is a perfect situation for more terrorist groups to grow. Every time we have a state becoming unstable, that is exactly where groups like ISIS or Al Qaeda or Jihad Islami or these other groups grow using instability. So supporting any movement that is challenging the border integrity of not just one, not two, but four different countries of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey is basically a perfect way to get to a point where the Middle East is producing more groups like Hamas, more groups like Hezbollah, which eventually is going to cause more chaos in Israel. Israel, this is why I always believe that Israel doesn't want war. People keep accusing Israel of being warmongering. I think Israel is more than any country in the Middle East. Israel wants peace in the Middle East because a country that is being is its existence is being challenged constantly is more interested in peace than any other country because other countries when they go into war it's their border integrity or their some of their civilians who are being challenged, but when Israel goes to war, its entire existence is being challenged. This is why it's always in the best interest of Israel to try to eliminate sources of war. And that's why it's in the best interest of Israel to get a stable Middle East. And the best way to get a stable Middle East is to have other partners and other strong countries as allies of the Middle East. So having Iran as a stable country, an ally of the Israel, is the best way to bring stability. Having Iran and Israel working with each other to stabilize the region is the best way to bring security to Israel. Oh, thank you,
Thanks. That
Jeffrey,
clears up
approves.
a fair
Thank you, Adam. Good question.
Jeffrey, did you want to still touch on that or was your thumbs up?
Kurdistan thing, I was just going to say that, having, where was it? I put it up here. I was going to ask, if you could speak on this, because this seems to be a recurring issue that's being leveraged by the mullah regime and their supporters to try and fragment solidarity and continuity mission and effort amongst the anti-mullah pro-Iranian protester diaspora. It seems that there's some opportunistic thinking of certain actors that the fall of the mullahs equals like an opportunity to carve up Iran. That's not a good idea. Uh, Can you elaborate more on some of those opportunistic, those actors that are engaging that opportunism and why it is they might be doing that?
Well, I mean, it makes sense why they think this is their chance, right? Because they've been dreaming about having an independent state for many, many years. And if the mullahs fall, there's going to be a period where there's no state, right? So that would be a window of opportunity for them to be able to achieve their dream coming true. So that's, I mean, it makes sense why they're thinking that. One thing that I want to add to that is how the one other reason why that's ridiculous though is that they can't agree on their borders, right? So, for example, in Iran, more than Kurdish separatists, you need to be worried about so-called Turkish separatists, right? And the Turkish separatist area that they want, basically, a lot of it is the same areas that the Kurdish think should be part of an independent Kurdistan, right? So a lot of analysts will guarantee that if even we get to a place where the Turkish separatists and the Kurdish separatists are getting close to the dream, you're going to see a bloodbath between Turkish separatist groups and Kurdish separatist group because of the overlap on the areas that they want, right? Not only that, you're going to also see a lot of a bloodbath between different Kurdish separatist groups. Because a lot of people talk about Kurdish separatist groups as if they're one people and they're all united to have like an independent Kurdistan. They hate each other and they constantly are attacking each other over leadership. So this is going to be a hot mess. Let's allow the Kurdish separatists to have their Kurdistan. Not only they're going to be fighting against four country states, they're going to be fighting against the Turks, and they're going to, more importantly, be fighting against each other for decades to come. I mean, here's another thing: the Kurdish separatists that in Iran, the number one people they have managed to kill is Kurdish people. The number one people that the Kurdish separatist armed forces that they have killed in Iran is other Kurds. I don't know if does that even answer your question?
Close.
Yeah.
So I got the opportunistic part. Can you speak on the underlying motives behind why they want that separatism and the reason that's operationally significant is what is the chance of, say, pro mullah regime elements using intra Kurdish separatist conflicts to cause insecurity flows, either to undermine our efforts, the anti mullah Persian protesters' ability to take down the mullahs or to destabilize Iran after mullah regime is taken down during His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi's transitionary period? And what can we do
Wait,
to
I didn't
maybe
understand the second question. Can you
like so the mullah regime comes down. His Highness
yeah,
Prince Reza Pahlavi comes in as a transitionary government, right?
yeah.
Transitionary period. Is there things in place that we can implement to ensure that other pro mullah
Mm.
actors after the mullah falls stir up aggravation and conflict between different Kurdish separatists with the idea of having some of those insecurity flows spill over into Iran to try and destabilize Iran during its transitionary period?
Is there anything we could do to basically stop that or limit that? But that's what you're saying. Okay. All right. So first of all, the reason why some of them want to do it is because this is their bread and butter, right? because they get paid for doing this. This is the movement that they belong to. This is their identity, and they don't know anything else. Like this is all. This is like these are like, I mean, why do we have like ISIS terrorists, right? This is their identity. A lot of them are commies, by the way. If you go like the Kurdish separatists, and they're basically against all forms of governments, modern nation states. They consider like they want to they want to make their own commie utopia, like Rajava or something like that. So they would probably be more anti-Pahlavi that they're even anti-Mullah, right? Because they would see the Pahlavi as an extension of imperialism and capitalism and all that stuff, right? So some of them are like that. Their motivations vary. Some people suggest that because they're oppressed, and like, but who is not oppressed inside Iran? Like what the right, what are you talking about? Right? So like the whole country is oppressed. Like, okay, so regarding one thing I want to mention is that they're actually, the Islamic Republic likes them. A lot of people think the Islamic Republic is against the separatists, but the Islamic Republic benefits a lot from separatists, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting supported by the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic's main narrative is that one of its main narratives has always been that even if you don't like me, I'm the only thing that is holding Iran together. So the fear of separatism has been a major way that the Islamic Republic has been ruling. When regards to what plans Prince Reza Pahlavi would have during the transition period. I mean, if you look at their plans, they talk about cooperating with the other people in the region, using the Artesh immediately to defend the borders, using high tech, drone technology and other technology to monitor borders. I do think that many Kurdish people and people themselves would be like signing up to defend the borders. So we, like, for example, with our Kurdish separatists, we have so many Kurds who are patriotic and would want to defend Iran's borders, that I think we're not going to have a shortage of people volunteering to defend the borders. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any challenge, but I'm saying people in that atmosphere, I think there's so much excitement for a new Iran, and people are going to be feeling so patriotic that if Princess Pahlavi pulls a call to action for people, Iranians, to come volunteer and get trained and defend the borders, they're going to have waves of people showing up to answer that call. So that's something I'm assuming that will happen. When it comes to more detailed military strategies regarding defending the borders and stabilizing the country, I did ask Princess Pahlavi's main advisor on my Persian show regarding that, and he did say that there well, obviously that has been discussed, but a lot of that information cannot be shared. It was reassuring to know that that has been discussed on a high level, but he did tell me that, like, well, obviously a lot of this can't be shared. By the way, guys, I did have the honor of having Princess Pahlavi's main advisor and the writer of the 100 of the emergency plan, the main editor of the plan, as my guest on the Persian show. So I asked him a lot of questions there. That interview was like a big deal after it came out. So many people were referring to it. It made big waves. Oh, thank you, guys. People are saying in the chat. That's very kind.
Okay, we have Susanna next, but before we move on, a quick question. If someone purchases the premium on school, does that payment go to school or does it help fund your program?
Our program. In fact, school is really good by taking. I just spend it on like on basically growing this community, right? School is really good that it basically, compared to all other platforms, that's a really good thing about school. It's actually they take very, very little, like less than YouTube, like less than YouTube, less than Patreon, less than so many other platforms.
YouTube is so much, isn't it? Like 30%?
Yeah, they take 30%.
See, okay, that was the hope, was that it goes to you. So that's great to hear. Okay, Susanna.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, I want to show off something that I think you will appreciate. Look at this protein Basque cheesecake my husband made. Look at this.
Wait,
The
you can
macros,
do
the
that?
macros are so good. And because I know you're a fit boy recovering from having a serious sweet tooth, I thought you would
Yeah.
appreciate some protein
I am
PK.
so jealous.
I'll send you the recipe.
Oh my god, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay,
It's
yes,
not
please.
it's not even hard to make.
Really?
No, not at
Okay,
all.
okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Can you actually post that somewhere that everybody
Yeah, like, I think you get, like, 30 to 40 grams of protein for, like, 300 calories.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Anyways, I just thought you would like that because I know you're also a fit boy with a sweet tooth.
Yeah. I am.
Anyways, one thing that I've been thinking about recently, and Armin, feel free to tell me if I'm off base, but low key, I feel like Iraqis are catching a lot of strays lately. Because like I've been following some English speaking Iraqi creators that are extremely supportive of the Iranian people, but they're making a few good points and like what's the word I'm looking for? Distinctions that I think are important. And it was really helpful for me to hear an Iraqi perspective on this because they feel like they're like low key catching some stray bullets over here when people are talking about like Iraqis this, Iraqis that. So one of them would be like, as we talk about hash Shabi or whatever, like, let me be clear.
Right.
I would never deny that 100% there are like Iraqi militia groups being moved into Iran to go massacre people. Let me be clear. I'm not disputing that. But they, listening to them, they're like, hey, when you guys talk about these militias, I don't think you realize that these are our oppressors too.
Right.
Like the same way that if a Lebanese person was like, "I fucking hate the Iranians because of what they're doing to my country," an Iranian would be like, "Hey, that's not fair. That's not Iran. That's the Islamic Republic." Like they make
Right.
a distinction. And it's the same thing for these militias. They're like, yeah, they are Iraqi, but we consider them to be traitors to Iraq. They're traitors to Iraq. They have more
Right.
fealty to the Ayatollah than they do to their countrymen. Like they have oppressed us first. They have massacred us first. They practiced on us first before they ever came into Iranian territory to go massacre you guys. They're like, and like us, we don't support it. Like they have, I understand why there's a lot of bad blood because there's this whole talking point about how we're going to make sure that Iran doesn't turn into what happened in Iraq, which I think is obviously one of the most important discussions to have. But there are a lot of Iraqis that are like, hey, like what happened in our country was complicated, but it was not simply a matter of we weren't ready for democracy. There was also a matter of they were actively being undermined and sabotaged by the meddling and corruption of the Islamic Republic. So they never had a shot. They never had a chance, you know, and they have like a real wound because of that. And I understand that. So that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially as we see like these certain Iraqis that are like signing up wearing burial shrouds saying that they're going to go suicide themselves for Khamenei or whatever. Like I've seen Iraqis online talking like, guys, don't forget that we consider these people traitors. Like, we do not the same way that you consider the besiege, like, traitors to your people, the, like, oppressors of your people, like, wolves amongst you, like, these are the people that are traitors to us. Like, these are not our compatriots. You know, we they're on a whole different tip, like so I don't know. I've just been thinking about that recently, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Like, a similar thing could be applied to Hezbollah, right? These people do not have allegiance to the Lebanese nation. They have their own project. that does not serve all of Lebanon, right?
No, that's a very good point, and I'm going to bring it up on the channel as well, especially because we want to be able to have a good relationship with our neighbors after the fall of the Islamic Republic, right? That's going to be key for stability. If we're anti Iraqis, that's going to be difficult to maintain a good relationship with our neighbors. I do wonder how much support do you think? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if you go in Iraq, there are going to be people who hate the Hashd Shabi. By the way, Hashd Shabi in English is the Popular Mobilization Front, which is basically a terrorist group and a proxy of the Islamic Republic inside Iraq. What do you think is the percentage of the people who think like that in Iraq, Susie? Like, because I'm almost sure that attitude is less in Iraq compared to Iran. Like this whole
Well, I
anti-terroristic,
mean, I'm
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest, like I have no insight into that because I only have access to like English speaking Iraqis who are also based in the West because it's safe enough for them. Right?
right.
So I don't really have a perspective on how popular it is. I mean, is there a lot of sentiment against the Islamic Republic in Iraq? Like 100%. 100%.
Hmm.
Like they have no, I mean, I'm not gonna I don't know what percentage, but there's a lot, like many people are fully aware of like how deeply they've been undermined by the Islamic Republic and how much fault like lays at the feet of the Islamic Republic. I think people are very woke to that, so to speak. You know, how they feel about other forms of militancy or whatever. I really couldn't speak to that. But like I've just been seeing more and more videos just because I'm now following the right kind of people that highlight it of
Right.
Iraqis who maybe they're not for, I don't know how to put it, like they 100% have an interest in the Islamic Republic falling.
Yes. So let me actually read this. There is not no single current percentage, but support has dropped significantly. They used to have a lot more support. Peak support was in 2017, immediately after defeat of ISIS. Support at that time was very high. Polls suggest that approximately 90% approval among Shias and 60% among Sunnis. But the current trend is that the popularity has fallen sharply since 2019, particularly due to the fact that the PMF or the Hashishabi's role in suppressing protests and accusations of corruption. So most Iraqis distinguish between the shrine units loyal to the state and religious authorities and the resistance factions, which is basically, it says Iran backed, which basically means Islamic Republic backed groups like Qatar and Hezbollah. The latter, which are often the ones designated as terrorists by Western nations, have much lower public support than the institution as a whole. But here's another thing that maybe some Iranians will point out. Even among the Iraqis who might be against this Hashd Shabi, they're still pro some other Islamic armed forces that they are, like, they're still like Shia religious people, a lot of them, right? Whereas like the Iranian is like, fuck all of your Shia bullshit. But like an average Iraqi who might be against Hashishabi, they're only against Hashishabi, but they are like they're only against Shia militia groups backed by the Islamic Republic, but they might support some local ones that are 100% Iraqi. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, you still support some armed Shia militia group. So how would you respond to that?
I don't know. I'm not gonna speak
Yeah.
on something that I don't know about. You know? Like,
Yeah. It is complicated though.
and I think like when talking about why Iraq has had like, a difficult road with democracy, people talk about it kind of flippantly in this way as if there's like something unique about Iraqis that led to that being such a difficult road. I think it's extremely multifactorial, and the Islamic Republic
Right.
had a very heavy hand to play in that. So
Yeah.
I just felt bad for a lot of these people I'm following. They're like, hey guys, we're really supportive of you. What's happening
Right.
to you is wrong. We stand with you. But also, please learn a little bit more about our history because, like, you're saying some stuff that's like not okay. And I'm like, you know what?
All right.
That's fair. That is fair.
Okay, but half jokingly, let me add something. Be careful telling Iranians to learn about Iraqis telling Iranians to learn about our history, because then the Iranians will point out, actually, you don't have a history. You're supposed to be part of Iran. Like, if
Well,
we do look
okay.
into your
Well,
history, if we
let's
do
not
look
start.
if we do look into your history, then we're going to be reminded that this is part of Iran's territory, and our
Okay.
capital, Tisfon, the
Oh
capital
my
of the
goodness.
Sassanid dynasty, is still on the other side of the border inside Iraq, and we probably want that back. So be
Okay,
careful.
well, let's not start with all that. I was referring to history of the 20th century. Thank you very
I know,
much.
I know.
But
I'm just, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, another joke, another joke. You have to be Iraqi to say our history, and by our history, you can't even go back 100 years, because you're a made-up recent country. And when Iranians say our history, we're talking about th- thousands of years. And when you're talking about our history as an Iraqi, you're basically talking about two generations. Hey, so I'm just
can a Persian go 5 minutes without talking about conquest, please, Armin?
I don't know. That was just the Iranian in me just speaking. Yes.
Some of my Persian friends talk so much about, like, how they've Persianized me, like, one of my friend's
Right.
dads literally calls me the Persian girl, like, because they, like, are but they know that I'm not, but, like, they wanna claim me, and I'm like, "Y'all need to chill with the conquest, like, I'm not Persian, and it's okay that I'm not Persian."
Hey,
I'm
remember
kidding.
the Persian conquest is like Cyrus the Great, with like a lot more. It's not like the Arab conquest. Like when Cyrus the Great did conquest, he would let the previous rulers rule. He would respect the traditions and the religion and the culture of the people in that era. He would even
Ask the
pay.
Scythians how they feel about that, huh? Ask the
Okay.
Scythians how they feel about that.
Okay.
They have a different story.
Well, are they around to even ask? But okay. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
nowadays, technically not really, but it's very
Yeah.
interesting to see how they portray him. They do not portray him the way that Iranians portray him. They portray him the way that you guys portray Zahak, okay?
Yeah, I know, like, those are really important points, and I will bring it up with Goldie as a reminder on our show that we need to be more friendly towards Iraqis, and we shouldn't be generalizing. And this is a Hashd Shabi thing; it's not an Iraqi thing, and that's a very good point. Like, I was like, at the end, I was just joking around, but that was a very important point, and I thank you for reminding me to bring up in the show.
Okay, next we have Shauna. Just a reminder, we're almost at our 30-minute mark.
Oh,
The list will be Shauna, Didom, Samantha, something from my notes. Patricia has something, and it's in my notes as well. And then we have one post show question.
Sean.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to press a button on my husband's headphones and I never know if it's pressed or not. Anyway, so I have a question. Witkoff and Kushner, one of the things you said in the show was that one of the possibilities for Bibi coming to the United States is because maybe there's some distrust towards Witkoff and Kushner. And I have, well, okay, I just don't trust Witkoff, period. But Kushner, I have mixed feelings about. He is Jewish. He's been very supportive of Zionism to some degree. One of the things I'm noticing just as a trend in a kind of peripheral view is it does seem like even within among American Jewish Zionists, there does seem to be a divide in how they want Israeli politics to go. So, like, some seem more comfortable with letting Israel retake territories and kind of expand its borders potentially. Other factions in the United States amongst Jewish Zionists seems to not like that. I don't know where Kushner is on that. That just seems to be something that I'm noticing. I would be very curious about that. The other thing too is just what, and this is kind of a side thought based on what Susie was talking about, is if we're going to say that the militias in Iraq don't necessarily represent Iraqis, that's not that different than the argument that people make towards Gaza. And the problem is that the terrorists, that's what they will say, is Susie, sorry, that's what they'll say, is they'll say the militias in Gaza, that Hamas doesn't represent Gazans, is, or doesn't represent Palestinians or whatever. And so they'll say things like, so we have to kind of make a distinction, but the problem is that Hamas does represent Gazans and does represent the mainstream view. So just comparing those
Yeah, but the
arguments.
militias, the Hashabi don't. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
but we'd have to a layman, I'm just thinking if we're talking to a layman who knows very little about the Middle East, which is most Americans, like 100% of everything I know about the Middle East has been learned
right.
in the last like 2 years.
But before
So
we're doing multiple topics, let's actually cover
let
the ones that
yeah,
you already
the Witkoff,
added before.
Kushner, what do you think
Yeah.
of them? Are they undermining Israel? And then what are the distinctions within American Zionism, which I don't know if you even know the answer to that. It's just something that I'm noticing on the periphery.
Okay. So regarding Witkoff, like let me give context for people who don't know what's happening. So, as many people here might know, and when this video comes out, it already has happened. Prime Minister Netanyahu is in Washington D.C. meeting with Trump, and there was some people were reporting that one of the reasons he's coming to meet with Trump is because he doesn't trust Jared Kushner and Witkoff in delivering the message to Trump in the way that he really wants. So you also say that you mentioned that Witkoff maybe, but maybe Jared Kushner because he's Jewish and and he supports Zionism. I mean, they all support Zionism. So I think Witkoff also supports Zionism. But the reason why I do, if this is the case, that Netanyahu doesn't trust Witkoff and Jared Kushner, if that is the case, I see why. I mean, just being Jewish and a Zionist is like, it doesn't, like that doesn't, it's not enough, right? Like both Jared Kushner and Witkoff have a lot of business with the Qataris, the Emiratis, and the Saudis, both of them, right? So, and a lot of the deals that they're pushing for is beneficial for their businesses. Right? People have noticing like every place that they're trying to stop a war, stop like even though the war is beneficial to Israel, if every place that they're going there and they're trying to stop it, and they're also talking to Hamas as if they are equals to Israelis. Like both Witkoff and Jared Kushner have been negotiating with Hamas as if they're equals to the Israelis, as if we're talking about equal size on both sides of the table and we should be respecting both sides. Like that's how they talk, which is really insulting. I think it should be insulting to Israelis, in my opinion, right? And Jared Kushner also talks like that about Hamas, which is, I think, disgusting. And to me, it completely aligns with their financial interests. And that's why I think he's correct, Netanyahu, if this is true, is correct not to trust him. With regards to division among Israelis, in and outside of Israel, I think that's completely natural. I mean, that's the most Jewish thing in the world, which is also a strength. And it causes, I think that's not a bug, it's a feature, right? The competition among different views among Israelis is what you need for a democracy to work out. With regards to borders, if we're talking about expansionist policies, I don't think Israel has any expansion policy beyond the places where it should be having. When we're talking about the greater Israel, we're not talking from the Nile to the Euphrates. I'm pretty sure there are some people in Israel who want that. But my understanding, based on last time I researched that, is that that's a very, very small percentage of Israelis. When we're talking about greater Israel, we're talking about Gaza, Judea and Samaria, and certain areas of the Golden Heights. That's the Greater
So
Israel project, and that should be the greater. I mean, I support that project, but go on.
oh, what I was gonna say is, yeah, when it comes to the border issue, I'm not necessarily talking about the like propagandist like greater Israel like map thing, which is made up and whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Yeah.
Just in general, retaking Gaza seems to be very contentious.
Right.
Judea and Samaria, control over Jerusalem is always going to be contention because all three religions, blah, 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 blah. But that's what I'm not talking about greater Israel, like in the map sense. I'm talking about the areas that Israelis are talking about. And then when I say I'm specifically talking about American Jews who disagree on that. So it's not just Israelis that have their own internal debates, but it's American Jews who disagree about Israel. And I'm like where Jared Kushner would fit on that. It's American Jewish Zionists. So they're pro Zionism in the sense that they believe that Israel has a right to exist, but they don't necessarily, and sometimes they use, well, some will use levers to kind of push within the kind of push American policy. I want to be very careful how I'm framing this because everybody is contending for their different groups in different ways. So I'm not saying this is unique to them. It's just something that I'm noticing that there may be some groups who want Israel to have Judea and Samaria and some groups who don't. And they might push levers. It's similar to, I would say, like American Anglophiles, like people like me. We really want a immigration policy that we might push levers theoretically on American politics towards Great Britain. So I don't think it's unique, but it's something that I'm noticing.
So, and what's the problem with that disagreement existing? Like, I
Just
mean,
that
is
I'm
it a problem?
just that I'm noticing in that some factions that are close to the president, so the
Mm.
people that does Kushner and secondarily Witkoff, more specifically
Oh,
Kushner, where does he fit in that? Because I mean, personally, I'm very pro Israel taking basically as much territory as they want because they don't trust most of their neighbors.